We often hear sweeping statements about the relationship between religion and women's rights. As a movement, feminism has often been at odds with religious movements and institutions. Today, we continue to hear of religion as something patriarchal and at odds with gender equality. But is this really true? Are they really so incompatible? Religion isn't really just one variable, but a collection of different variables. Perhaps some are more important than others in defining this relationship. If we can isolate the given mechanism, we will have a better understanding of the interaction between women's rights and religion. On top of that, can we really claim that all types of women's rights policies are affected the same way? We're going to look at a number of religious variables and a number of types of women's rights policies to see if the story is more complex than we might have thought. We'll look at a few religious variables. These will include religious sects, religiosity, religious diversity, laws on freedom of religion, and laws on separation of church and state. We'll see how they correlate with abortion law, but also how they correlate with women's political freedoms. By using two different laws, we can see how very different types of women's welfare policy respond to our different religious variables. After running regression analyses, we found that religion isn't influential in the sweeping way that we've thought. For abortion policy, the number of Catholics, Muslims, and Buddhists in the population, and degree of religiosity, all correlated with more restrictive abortion policy. No other variable achieves statistical significance. For political rights policy, only the degree of freedom of religion correlated with more liberal political rights. No other religious variable had any correlation with the degree of women's political rights. To get an even better idea of how our significant variables work in correlation with abortion policy, let's look at the interaction between them. On the x-axis is religiosity. It's represented by the percentage of a country's population that says religion is very important to them. On the x-axis, we have the number of conditions under which a woman can legally access abortion based on a UN scale. In general, as religiosity increases, permissiveness of abortion policy decreases. But this relationship isn't uniform for all religious sects. Countries with a Catholic majority, represented by the white triangles, don't follow this pattern. A Catholic country with low levels of religiosity is just as likely to have a restrictive abortion policy as countries with high religiosity. On the other hand, Muslim countries, represented by green circles, do follow the general pattern. Muslim countries with low levels of religiosity have very liberal abortion policies. When we pass the 70% threshold, though, they disproportionately make up the countries with restrictive abortion policy. So what can we conclude from this? Religion is indeed a complex variable and has a different relationship with different issues within women's rights. Not all parts of religion have a negative effect on women's rights, and it depends on what type of women's rights we're discussing. Further research can take these nuances into consideration and clarify the boundaries of this relationship.